artistic directors. Now in its 54th season, the Chamber Music Society is one of the world's largest Alice Tully Hall tour. Hello, hey, hi everybody. Social media family. How are you all doing? Today's program features three works that well, hopefully everyone is doing at least okay, if not better yet, to be said all right. You know, if not best of all to be said, to be feeling less than stressed, more blessed than stressed, or too blessed to possibly be calm or be stressed. You and yours, your family and friends, and hopefully me and mine likewise as well, all the same. But then I don't know what's happening with my camera and microphone, but then hopefully you all can see and hear me. Last I was on here, you know, the same thing was happening before, you know, and whereas I had ended the broadcast prematurely, as a matter of fact, whereas I did not broadcast for no more than about, what was it? Maybe about 1/3 of the time frame period that I would usually broadcast, then because it more than seems like somebody has hacked this here electronic device of mine, my own personal effects, belongings, or possessions. Then I'm just going to take a chance and hope that you all can or could possibly see and hear me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to put this here particular laptop computer into that electronic shop somewhere for the Vicentiary neighborhood community. Then whereas the technician on duty can look it over and find out what's going on, especially as to whether or not somebody has hacked my computer. I mean, after all, this one neighbor from damn hell, cocksucker. Oh, excuse my apartment friends. Sorry about that for the last minute. But, you know, as in, you know, this one drug pusher of, excuse my language, apartment friends, really obnoxious dickhead prick, you know, being as he himself is, of a rather creepy, cowardly, and or faggoty, not to mention demon possessed nigger SOB bastard of a poop butt pissant, you know, who has been giving me the business before, and whereas now I suspect that he could possibly have a hand in what I have become subjected to experiencing momentarily for this here particular personal effect belonging to possession of mine being of an electronic device as we have it here, of a laptop computer, especially after I get to considering how, you know, a SIM card from one of my cell phones had come up missing. So therefore somebody had to trespass my premises properties of a place rather than an apartment when I had left the building to take that SIM card, or rather, let's say SIM card out of the, you know, the cell phone that I had left back here at my place of residence compared to the other ones I took with me. And so that could be complicating matters in due regard in reference to, you know, broadcasting from this here computer, as some of my devices, some, or certain ones, or the other ones are hooked up with the same, well, I think you all get the general idea of what I'm trying to say. And if somehow that SIM card that he has stolen could possibly be somehow hooked up with this here particular computer or any of my other devices, then who would say? Anyway, though, other than that, how you all doing? Well, hopefully everyone or everybody is at least doing okay. You and yours, your family and friends, if not better yet to be said, all right. If not best of all to be said, and I'll state for record for that matter, to be feeling blessed and stressed, more blessed and stressed, too blessed to probably become or be stressed. You and yours, your family and friends, hopefully me and mine likewise as well are all the same. Well, for the last mention, I myself am actually feeling kind of up on the weather, you know, in all due regard, you know, or as I have a reality check, and that is also suspect coming from the likes of my present neighbors from down hell characters, and as I'm wondering as to whether or not this main one that I had mentioned earlier, being of the same of the said in question in the former previous prior mentioned, could have especially played a big or major part in me feeling like I am as a present moment in time. Hold that thought. I have to turn the eye of my stove off. I was preparing something of long line thought of tea to help me recuperate as we get rid of saying, you know, to boost my immune system when I'm doing those, and trying to get better. Hopefully, I won't have to be paying a visit to a local Vicentiary neighborhood community hospital, and then possibly be followed by a medical clinic anytime too soon. Enough again, being of any that is affiliated or associated with and representing some such thereof, the same as said in question in the form of previous I mentioned, regardless of whether it were to be public or private. And whereas it's like lately, once again, I've been making any hospital for wherever I would choose to, pay a visit to become like a home away from home, and hopefully it won't become the case of situation anytime too soon up again like that. And especially if I get to considering how at one time or another I have had an electronic device of my own personal effects belongings or possessions stolen from me from a medical facility, regardless of whether it was a hospital or a clinic. When you be feeling up under the weather and they tell you, leave your stuff in the room, just come. Now, it's not like I leave any of my personal effects, belongings, or possessions in any room at a hospital or clinic unless I want some of such, stolen from me again, especially of any electronic devices or money. They would tell you, oh, take your clothing off. And here, wear this gown. You can just leave your clothing there. Then they like to have, your wallet stolen, as somebody could, go through your pants and then with your bus pass in there, and you could be stranded somewhere, anywhere and everywhere, God forbid, you know, and especially when you could be feeling up under the weather enough as it is, in case the situation or to compound the problem or complicate matters of how you're trying to make it in this cold, cruel world for a person who is upon a limited or fixed income, as I myself am, you know, not in the best of health, lately. Well, hopefully I'm better off than some compared to others, and especially since I am in recovery, had given up drinking and drugging, drinking intoxicating alcoholic beverages of qualities and quantities, and likewise, or that much more, I had given up my drug of choice being reefer, you know. So I should be getting better, not feeling worse at times, and hopefully no doctors and nurses had, you know, given me the business or done a whammy on me to be compared on to a neighbor from damn hell giving me the business, And being of which is, for that last mention, the very, you know, how should I put it? The very material, is that what I had in mind? No, not exactly. That's one way of putting it. For the content of the present social media broadcasts of a video, you know, that being yes, that being of the subject matter at hand, a topic of discussion to be debated, or for the given argument, with the many different views and opinions to be affiliated or associated with and are representing thereof, you know. And whereas, and now that I've gotten the preliminaries out the way, as in having taken care of the greeting or salutation in due regard in reference to you all and asking your person's question of how you're doing, and as well as having composed or drafted that being the basic intro, and or for that matter the footnotes, then let me continue from when my person had last left off, so I can finish up as and complete a form of previous prior line of thought in the same system. Yes. I mean, as not all doctors and nurses are into the make people well business, but rather to, make people sick business, and you know, to keep you feeling like so, for that matter, compared to their medical colleagues otherwise altogether different, who would think to not go contrary to their profession and defy the Hippocratic oath that they would have taken. You know, because I have heard more than quite a few urban legend horror stories myself about, you know, certain doctors and nurses going about with some such medical malpractice on their part, then because they're not in it for the patients, but for the profits. If you know what I mean. Read between the lines, fill in the blanks, and attempting to make sci-fi Frankenstein monster human guinea pig projects out of some of such of their patients, regardless of whether they were to be outpatients or inpatients. I remember at one time or another when I was seeing a shrink of a different kind. There are two types of shrinks. Two types of shrinks, as in, those who are head doctors, if you know what I mean. Read between lines, fill in the blanks. One, I say, for example, one type being of a psychologist, whereas he or she can only administer what is called therapeutic talk sessions to one's patients, regardless whether the patients were to be, like, say, and patients as well as outpatients. Whereas, on the other hand, a psychiatrist can do both, administer therapeutic talk sessions and, you know, prescribe medicines for one's patients, to be possibly considered at some such given amount of time, regardless of whether one's patients were to be, that is, for he or she of a psychiatrist were to be inpatients as well as outpatients. And I'm not into that. Whereas, if anything, if I were to see a shrink nowadays, I prefer to only see a psychologist rather than a psychiatrist. I mean, for the simple reason being that if I want to be medicated, I'll medicate myself, But then I'm in recovery, as I was saying, and I'm stating for the record much earlier. And I really don't care to go to any hospital or clinic unless I really, really would have to do so. You understand what I'm saying? Because if anything, I would much rather than to go to a hospital clinic. I'd rather just take some over-the-counter drug if that can do the trick, or better yet, go about some such a home remedy. But then sometimes you have to go to a hospital as well as to a clinic if matters persist in due regard in reference to some kind of a physically debilitating health issue. And the life you save may be your own. You know. Then I don't choose. I don't know about anybody else, but I myself personally, I don't choose to go to any hospital, and every hospital, any clinic, every clinic for that matter, or any doctor or any nurse, for the simple reason being, as I had said and stated for record much earlier. So let me repeat myself or reiterate. Not every doctor or nurse is in it for their patients, but rather they're in it, their particular profession or vocation or whatever I said. They are in it. They themselves, they're in it for the profits, as in money, you know, mucho dineros, king, or whatever monetary finances currency is to be called, Okay. I remember hearing about, and this was supposed to be historical fact, civil war and human rights violation, abuses, uh, patients' rights and privileges, being of which would be considered as that being otherwise constituting medical malpractice. There was this guy, I don't know, I can't remember his name. Was his last name Spinelli or something? He was the same one that had thought to, pick a beef with politicians, senator, former ex-presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton, and she checked him. But anyway, this is the same person of some kind of pharmaceutical representative, whereas or was he a pharmacist at that? But anyway, though, he was diluting prescription medicines for, you know, persons or patients suffering from a particular STD or STI. And it had gotten him into a lot of hot water, but somehow he managed to sidestep going to jail because he was getting big money, though it was found out that he was abusing his rights and privileges as a licensed pharmaceutical representative or pharmacist or whatever I said. And somehow he managed through different loopholes, legal loopholes, but then he had some such, not just of the better, but the best attorneys or lawyers to keep him out of jail, up until the time he decided to pick a beef with senator politician, former ex-presidential candidate Hillary Rodham Clinton, and she wasn't having it. She sent that joker to jail, or at least for a little while, though he really had gotten no more than a slap on the wrist. I have to Google it, whatever his name was supposed to be, but he was really endangering the lives of more than quite a few persons suffering from a particular STD or STI. I don't want to go into it as in regard to or reference to the specifics, out of respect for persons suffering from some or such, and not to possibly make them become subjected to experiencing either there's any further abuses of their rights and privileges or violation thereof, regardless of be it were to be physical or mental. I mean, that guy that had ran game on them, he was a monster. That much I do know, and I can say. And so regardless, if any of your persons at some or such given moment in time pay any visits to any hospitals or clinics, hopefully, as well as I myself, hopefully you be of a watchful eye, At one time or another, this happened quite a while back though. Was it years ago or months ago? Well, hopefully it wasn't weeks or days or nights ago in regard and reference to I myself personally. Well, hopefully it would have been years and months ago for that matter. Whereas this one, medical person, he had, those what you call that they put in your mouth to check your temperature, thermometers, whatever it's called. Anyway, though, I noticed at some given moment in time after I had because I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, but with all things considered, and then the thought popped in my head. Oh no, he didn't. He didn't just put that in my mouth without the protective layer of whatever that is, plastic around it. And sure enough, he did. I was pissed. I mean, words cannot describe how pissed I was. I was so pissed at him having done that they had to call the security guards for me. It's like 3 or 4 of them. Because I told him, man, if you don't get out of this medical room after what you done pulled with me, man, you better. Because I'm about to crack a can of, on somebody. Man, he practically ran out of my room. Then before you know it, security guards showed up, you know, yeah, just that quick as well. And I like, what's up? And like they're like, you have had a problem with one of these here. Say, yeah, I had a problem with this triage nurse of a male putting that thermometer in my mouth without the protective, plastic around it. Because at some given moment in time, he was like saying, "Oh, I am so sorry." I'm like saying, you ain't gonna be half as sorry if you don't hurry up and get your butt out this room after you pull that crap with me. You know, that's how I was like right. But anyway, though, the security guard was like saying in more words or less. Well, sir, in view of the circumstances, you will have to leave for the moment, because you know your attitude. I'm like, well, wouldn't you get an attitude as well? They was like saying, well, your demeanor is not what it could be at the moment, and you just have to leave. Just get your stuff and come back some other day or so. Yeah. And that just get me to thinking about medical malpractice. Well, hopefully any health issues being of which I had become subject to experiencing like years later is not the result of developments of that particular incident. You know what I'm saying? God forbid. But then though I am feeling like just so much like up under the weather, like how they say sick as a dog at times. But then lately, whereas when I go to the different hospitals, they be saying, the doctors and nurses, there's really nothing wrong with you. And I'm like saying, well, what are you saying? I'm some kind of hypochondriac? I don't think so. He said, well, it just appears that you could possibly just have, some underlying symptoms of, or extended case of maybe a cold bug or the flu. There's really nothing wrong with you. Just drink plenty of liquids, fluids, or whatever I said, and keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be all right. I'm like saying, hopefully they're telling me like it is, because like I said, not all doctors and nurses are in the medical profession for their patients, because a lot of them are just into that particular field of study and practice for the money. Chain, chain, chain. Give me the money if the price is right. Then I had yet to get my teeth fixed. That is try to see about matters from dentures on one hand to better yet implants on the other, being of which I would really want, being of the latter than the former. But then I have to see about getting some kind of what they call a dental grant, that would supplement that whatever public aid would pay for any persons who are on limited or fixed incomes, as I myself. See, I'd be looking like the Bride of Frankenstein. Look at that. I mean, did I say the Bride of Frankenstein? Rather, either the boyfriend, fiance, or the hubby, the husband of the Bride of Frankenstein. You see that there? Most most of what few teeth are left in my mouth now are just there for decorations, because most are gone, and whereas I have to be careful how I chew my food, you know. Whereas if anything, I'm swirling the food around to try to get mashed by what remaining teeth I have, and that's in addition how to supplement that physical action. I would have to, you know, take utensils and cut my food up in much smaller pieces, even so much as tear it up for that matter. If I'm eating hot dogs or wieners, no, that was or frankfurts or Polish sausages or broccoli. No, that wasn't a gay joke. I'm not gay, you know. Then neither am I a homo basher, you know. Okay, and I'm not a member of the Westboro Baptist Church. I mean, don't get me wrong, though I have contemplated the thought of joining that particular one, maybe in the future, but still all the same, I don't agree with everything that they say. Because, and speaking upon those matters, because, they have a rather sacrilegious or blasphemous email, blog, or website. I think you all have heard of it, called www.godhatesfags.com, whereas the God of my own understanding don't hate faggots, homos, or queers, or whatever those cocksuckers call themselves nowadays, but rather he hates their rather blasphemous alternative lifestyle preference. But then there's one particular neighbor from damn hell of mine, you know, he represents less manhood than a much more familiar average faggot. The drug pusher that had threatened my life a few times verbally, as I was saying, and more was less, and videos of times past, was I have had to call the police on them each and every time. Not that I'm wagging the dog, changing the subject, but then getting back to some of such other from where I had last left off. Whereas I was mentioning about, how I had to chew my food slowly, and tear it up for that matter, and cut it up with utensils as well as tear it up. And got good. Though the Prince of Peace, rather what I said, though the Prince of Darkness be attempting to confuse my speech, the Prince of Peace will continue to regulate my mind. And regardless of where I'm living now or paying monthly rent, being bothered with the worstest of neighbors, it's probably him, the dickhead I was telling you all about, the prick. Like as if I have to mention him every time that I do a broadcast, social media content of a video, just because misery loves company, and like whereas he wants me to include him in some or such, like he's all that important, and attempt to confuse you all in thinking that he is, really now. Crazy. Anyway, though, I'm about to conclude, in due time, this particular present social media broadcast of video content, you know. But and getting back to some of such other original subject matter, topic discussion to be debated or given argument, you know, with many different views and opinions to be affiliated, associated with, and representing some of such thereof. So far as the present one of a social media broadcast of video content, and I was saying, hopefully nobody has become subject to experiencing any sort of type of medical malpractice. Most recently, regardless of any litigating legal cases impending for anybody that has become subjected to experiencing medical malpractice coming from licensed physicians, of doctors and nurses at whatever hospitals, not only citywide, statewide, or nationwide, but worldwide. But if you were to become subject to experiencing some of such, hopefully you would get a qualified licensed attorney or a lawyer that knows his business or her business, depending on whichever one's gender is, so you can get the ching ching and be rolling in the dough. Oh man, money coming from something anywhere, everywhere. Oh man, especially if you become a participant of a class action lawsuit against a hospital, then more than likely, more often than not, you will get even more money. Not that money is everything. Not all money is good money. And on this last note of interest, I would like to say, and that is, if you haven't gotten Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I hope that you would think to do so now while the blood is still running warm in your veins, by recognizing or realizing what he himself had done or did upon the cross of Calvary, on the hill of Golgotha, suffering at the hands of Roman soldiers up on the orders of their superiors, religious, political, militaristic, and etc. But then, nevertheless, was he went to that cross of Calvary to become a perfect sacrifice, the only sacrifice for you as well as for me. Don't steal my trademark gesture of a physical nature. I'm going to have to copyright it sometime unless I want to risk it being plagiarized. Whereas if any of us, regardless of race, walk of life, fashion, society, lifestyle preference, gender, age, etc., being any persons who are affiliated, associated with, and representing not only the human people, but the global community within this post 911 era of a new millennium, apocalyptic day and age, and was the doomsday clock, you know, the stress levels to be affiliated, associated with, representing thereof, for the ICBMs that being whichever countries and nations possess some of such, and for this supposed so-called post-global pandemic era, you know, its doomsday clock is supposed to be at a couple of few minutes to midnight compared on the outpouring period prior to the end was supposed at a quarter midnight for these rather biblically prepared time. Whereas if any of us were to profess some such faith in our Lord and Savior Christ, from there we would become and be blessed in one regard or another in more ways one. First and foremost, with this salvation, being which is the only means by which any of us can or could possibly become or be considered as citizens of the kingdom of heaven. Then second of all, with his deliverance. But first you have got to get his salvation. Otherwise, you have nothing coming so far, blessings in general. And if you make that transition of the great beyond for the hereafter afterlife, and you don't have the only fire insurance against the lake of fire, damn hell, then that's where your final destination will become or be, unless you're one of those few that become subject to experiencing a beyond and back experience. Whereas once you were to come back upon the planet Earth in this world, you can reverse that decision you would have made to reject the only salvation that will permit you to become a kingdom of heaven. Whereas most who go to damn hell are there to stay, to be burning forever and be tortured and terrorized by the devil and demons. And the same line of thought compared to how we as believing God will be across a great divide that separates heaven from hell, and the company of like-minded believers in the presence of God and his angels otherwise, and even so be blessed down here upon the planet Earth, or while we're still in this world. You all take care and be safe, be blessed, not stressed. If and when you can or could possibly become of that status of the last mention, and I will holler at you later. We out. Peace.